On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1972. We're going to be taking a look at Liza Minnelli, and she's going to be performing Maybe This Time. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So I have isolated Liza's voice so that we can run it through the pitch monitoring software. We'll probably watch this the whole way through, but as always there's going to be a link in the description below in case you guys want to watch the performance again or the interview that accompanies the performance. So Liza's up on screen, let's see how she gets on.
Maybe this time I'll be lucky. Maybe this time he'll stay. Maybe this time, for the first time, love won't hurry away. He will hold me. I'll be home at last. Not a loser anymore, like the last time and the time before. Everybody loves a winner, so nobody loved me. Lady peaceful, lady happy, that's what I long to be. Well, all the odds are they're in my favor. Something's bound to begin. It's gotta happen sometime. Maybe this time I win. 'Cause everybody, oh, they love a winner, so nobody loves me. Lady peaceful, lady happy, that's what I long to be. But all the odds are they're in my favor. Something's bound to begin. It's gotta happen sometime. Maybe this time. Maybe this time
And there we have it. So let me start off by saying that Liza Minnelli is an example of an artist who obviously had famous parents, and when you're talking about a famous parent, Judy Garland is probably the most famous that you can get from a vocalist standpoint. When you start singing when you're a kid and your mother is Judy Garland, people are obviously going to start comparing you to her, and especially considering that she started singing so young. So the great thing about Liza Minnelli is that she's stepped out of the shadow of Judy Garland and had her own massively successful career in her own right. And she's just got this unbelievable confidence. Even with this performance, being on a TV show, she puts every single element in there that you would have in a musical theatre production. All of the physical, embodiment of a character that you're watching during one of those productions, but she just brings this all the time, makes every single performance believable, but takes on the character within the performance and within the song. So it's amazing to see as well on screen the vocal lines that we get, because we do have a vocal analysis on Judy Garland here on the channel, so you guys can check that out independently if you want to. I'll link to that at this point in the video at the top somewhere, so you can click on that if you haven't seen it already, but I will be referring to that video. We will jump into listening to Liza's isolated vocal in a second, but first of all, I just want to point out her vocal delivery and how deliberate it is, not being so regimented with the backing. So when I say that, what I mean is coming in after the start of the bar and not following the instrumentation in the background. So we'll have a listen.
Maybe this time I'll be lucky. Maybe this time he'll stay.
And it gives it such a conversational quality because it's not linked in with everything going on in the background. Therefore, it sets the vocal apart so that you can focus on it more clearly. So giving a practical example of that, with the bars, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, na 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 na, na 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 na. That's not happening. Liza's not coming in on 1, 2, da na na da, on 2 and effectively of the bar. She's waiting. Let's just take it back, so hopefully you guys can appreciate it with the live performance.
Maybe this time I'll be lucky.
Great example there with I'll be lucky. So I'll count along, and I say it comes in on 2 and it comes in whenever you want it to come in, but this is such a great way of drawing the audience into your performance, because people will naturally be expecting the timing of the vocal to come in on 2 and, because that's what happened in the first bar. So by delaying it in the second bar, everyone's waiting for it. It's like building suspense to hear that vocal, because it should have already happened by now. Let's have a listen.
Maybe this time
1, 2.
I'll be lucky.
So she's a whole beat later than that first bar. And, it is really subtle. We are analysing this in detail, but all of these tiny things make the performance so much more engaging and give it such a personal quality of the singer, because they are telling a story, and they're not telling a story that is determined by what's going on in the background. They're just going to tell you their story, and it just so happens that we've got musical backing to it. And that's very much what musical theatre is all about. So I'm going to let it run on a little bit more. I've taken down the accompaniment as well so that we can hear Liza's voice a little bit more clearly.
Maybe this time he'll stay. Maybe this time, for the first time, love won't hurry away. He will hold me. I'll be home at last. Not a loser anymore, like the last time and the time before. Everybody loves a winner, so nobody loved me. Lady Peaceful.
I'm just going to jump in here, because something that we have to mention is this vibrato that Liza has and how wide it is. And this is very much because of the style of music. I've said about voices in the past with analysis videos, when we're looking at somebody who might be more mainstream, and we might be looking at a pop song, for example, will have a vibrato that is a lot more contemporary, because it doesn't cover the pitch range that we get when we're talking about musical theatre, and when we're talking about this kind of range variation in the vibrato, we have here 1, 2, 3, over 3 semitones in some places, so that is wide. Generally, the wider the vibrato gets, the more towards musical theatre you get, and classical music, classical singing, but opera as well. So this wider vibrato means that there's going to be so much more drama in the voice, but that's the point, because with musical theatre, it's all about drama, it's about the performance. And when you go all the way as far as opera, that's where you'll start seeing some seriously wide vibratos. Another thing about Liza when she performs is that she really leans into her chest voice. She doesn't lighten up into head voice, doesn't release at all. And especially at the end of this performance, we'll probably be able to hear her belting using this chest voice, but because we've got the isolated vocal, you'll be able to appreciate it even more.
To begin, it's gotta happen.
That's the perfect time to jump into it, because it's almost a shout when you hear the isolated vocal, because of the emotion that she's putting into the performance. The character that she's maintaining throughout the performance, just belting it out. And when we go back, I just want to play that again.
In my favor, something's bound to begin.
Something that Liza does on begin is modify the vowel so that rather than be gear, and she, doesn't stay on that I sound, because it's narrow. It means that it's not an open vowel, but she goes and she goes to more of an sound so that she can just let rip with her vocal a little bit more. Listen to the change in the vowel of begin.
To begin.
Is that begin? And it just takes it to a totally different place, because now she can really lean into it, that chest voice, she can belt it out rather than being limited by the vowel. So just before we compare Liza's vocal lines to Judy's vocal lines, I want to just show you this great example of the cry that we can hear in Liza's voice, something that I've mentioned in lots of other analysis videos. But the reason this is such a great example is because the pitch monitoring software picked it up, so we can see it on screen. So taking this back here, we'll just let it play through again. And there, we can see on the pitch monitoring software, the note that's being hit is down here, but then this vocal line goes all the way up here, and it would go even higher because Liza just allows her voice to relax into this cry. And what I'm going to do is take it back. We're going to listen to it in slow motion so that we can hear that ascension of the note, just where she allows it to go, just with this really relaxed vocal technique. Right there. And I mean, if you can't hear it, you can see it. And this is the great thing about having the vocal lines, that going all the way up there, I'm not even sure what note she'd be going up to, but that's the point, that it's not a note that she's hitting. She's just allowing the vocal cords to do what they do and give you that cry. And having the ability to do that is a great indication of the vocal technique, because it means that she would be able to release up there into head voice if she wanted to. And just to finish this performance, we're going to listen to the vibrato in slow motion, because it's going to give you a great example of how wide it is when Liza applies it. So, I mean, we can see it on screen as it is plotted on this pitch graph, but she starts off actually tighter with the vibrato, and you can see just a semitone, a little bit over. And by the time we finish up, we've got 1, 2, 3. So we've got pretty much 3 semitones being covered. Again, it's going to just bring the drama in. It's interesting how she brings more drama into one note the longer that she holds it, and it is going to be the end of the performance as well. So she's just leaving you at the top of the mountain. You just reached that crescendo of the performance. So I've got the vocal lines of Judy Garland up on screen from that analysis video that I've done previously, and I'm just going to let it play through so you can listen to not only the vibrato, but the tone.
Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue.
So immediately, what you'll notice is that Judy's voice was a little bit more nasal. And with Liza's voice, she sings a lot more out of the mouth. So it's a lot more of an open sound. And we definitely get that with Liza. When she leans into chest voice, you almost get that rasp in there. Because you really do actually get some rasp in there. Especially in the sections that I've pointed out where it's almost like shouting. Coming out the mouth, you've got that ma, and it's ah. You're allowing a lot of it just to come out of the mouth rather than the nose. If I went ah and directed it out of my nose, you get a softer sound. Obviously, because Judy's recording so much older, it tends to lack that brightness anyway. But if you do watch other performances and compare Liza's voice with Judy's voice, you will find that Judy is a little bit more nasal than Liza. But that's just a personal preference. I wouldn't even say it's a preference, it's just natural. So when we start comparing these vocal lines on screen, you can see that Judy's vibrato is a lot tighter, not even a semitone here, but then Liza's vibrato is always really wide here, a lot more exaggerated, a lot more dramatic. But you will find in Judy's performances, as she aged, her vibrato did get wider. So you can make an argument for the fact that because Liza's older in this performance, that maybe this is just the natural progression in her voice. I do think from watching her sing when she was younger, Liza, her vibrato was naturally a little bit wider. It just had that tendency to be like that. The space that we've got between these peaks is pretty much identical. I mean, that's really interesting because it might have been something that Liza has picked up subconsciously just by imitating her mother when she heard her sing. She's got the same frequency of vibrato, so it means that it's firing off at the same speed, going na. Those na 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 na. Those peaks are consistent with her mother's vibrato. This is definitely not something that Liza would have sat down trying to go ah and try and get the same timing. It's totally natural, and you can tell that her vibrato is totally natural. So it's something that's just naturally been imprinted upon her subconsciously by her mother when Liza's been listening to her mother sing. And this might go totally wrong, but I'm going to try and drag these over the top to see these peaks, and there we have it. So there we get the first peak, the second peak, and the third peak is directly, and the fourth peak here is, yeah, pretty much identical, considering that these two songs are totally different tempos, but the peaks of vibrato overlap directly, which is amazing, and you wouldn't know this unless you could actually see it on screen. And let me just move it down, because you can see that here, if I place it here, these lines, all the peaks are lining up perfectly, even all the way back throughout this whole note that's being held. Again, two totally different songs, but the two voices are identical with their frequency of vibrato. I just want to point out something about the similarity in the vocal lines that we can see on screen between Judy and Liza. Have a listen to Judy first.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
So we get this slide all the way up to this G sharp 4, and we're bang on the note, and then Judy applies vibrato. And this glissando technique of sliding, we've seen it throughout Judy's performance. But when we take this back, it's amazing because we don't even have to listen to Liza to see a slide that we have up all the way to the A sharp 4. So we're a tone higher, 2 semitones. But look at the similarities here with the pitch. Bang on, and then applying vibrato. But Judy's is more subtle, doesn't cover as much pitch. But these vocal lines that we're looking at on screen, it's like it's the same voice. And that's the amazing thing, that Liza is so similar to her mother when you're looking at the vocal lines on screen, that this slide up hits just slightly sharp, and we hit slightly sharp, we come down below the note, and then vibrato's applied,
Lady, peaceful lady.
And there we have it. Yeah, that perfect slide up, nail the note, apply vibrato. But I think this is one of those videos that could go on for years, because you could jump into such detail with this, and looking at the peaks of the notes with Judy here, the peaks of the note here with Liza, just being so similar in the way that they approach hitting notes and the way that their vocal cords naturally snap to notes, even after slides. But I'm going to be calling it to a close now, because yeah, it would go on for years. But thank you guys for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and I thought it would be interesting just to compare Liza's voice with Judy's. But as always, keep those suggestions coming in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!